Greetings from Nuremberg, welcome to the Norisring. The battle for the top-ranked driver is getting tighter since the last race at Lausitz. The Audi A4 DTM is in 3 of the top 6 positions. Now it's the season's 3rd race on Audi's home turf. The team from Ingolstadt has only won the race once here before. The last 6 times they went home empty-handed. Let's take a look at how Audi has prepared specifically for this race and what difficulties lay ahead on this track. We're actually driving on roads here that are usually occupied by normal commuters during the week. So naturally, the surface of the road is different. There are also a lot of bumps in the road and the course is quite uneven. There are only crash barriers here and no runoff areas. That's what makes it so special. There are a few treacherous points, like the long straightaway which leads to the first Grundig bend. That's actually the slowest curve of the entire season. Really, it's first gear going 30 to 40 miles per hour. Braking is really difficult because the car shifts intensely due to all the bumps in the road. It's the same thing when accelerating again. We have to use all the space, which means going long and staying close to the crash barriers. There are also bumps in the road there, so the traction isn't that great. Then we get to the Schürrle S-curve, which is basically just made up of walls. You really just have to drive straight on through and hope you don't scrape the walls anywhere, because it's really very tight and uneven there. You also realize the grip there, which you first experience on Sunday because there are no races allowed there during the week. Then it goes on to the last curve after another long straightaway, which is almost as slow as the first curve. It's called the Dozen Ponds curve, because there's a beautiful pond here, which is more like a lake. The bumps in the road here create the same problems with braking and accelerating again. So the car has to maintain perfect traction in both the braking and especially with the acceleration, because we need to gain as much momentum as possible in the long straightaways so that we can brake as late as possible. This year, Audi celebrates its 100th birthday, and one of the parties being celebrated is being held at the Norisring, which isn't very far from Ingolstadt. 100 years is a long time for tradition, and the Horch brand is also part of Audi's long and rich tradition. We'll hear from Horch's last trainee as he arrives for this special anniversary. And we'll also see what prominent guests show up at the Norisring. The racing weekend at Norisring also has an extensive supporting program. For example, the top singing sensation Luna. But there are also other VIPs that enjoy visiting the Audi team. You get closer to the cars, closer to the drivers, and that's maybe something that separates the DTM from all the other racing series. I really like being here. Like they say, once a race fan, always a race fan. I just can't get enough of it. Another attraction is this Audi R15 TDI, which Christensen, McNish and Capello drove to the 3rd place 2 weeks ago at the 24-hour race in Le Mans. Of course we hope for more in Le Mans, but this year Peugeot really did do the best job. Under the circumstances, Capello, McNish and I were naturally satisfied to be on the podium. But generally speaking, the only reason we go to Le Mans is to win. During Audi's 100th anniversary year, Norisring is also a central part of the company's history. The restart of the auto union in Ingolstadt after the war was only made possible through the brave efforts of Edgar Friedrich. He sneaked 600 skilled auto workers from the Soviet zone into the West, including August Horch. I returned home from the war when I was 22. My father told me that I had to get the people over from Saxony. They needed people to establish the auto union in West Germany. The Russians wanted to deport people since they dismantled the factories in Saxony, and they obviously also used the workers for that. So I was the one who, like a smuggler, brought over 600 executives and skilled auto workers. It was with those people that the main deposit facility, as well as the factory in Ingolstadt, was established. August Horch was very impressed with Edgar Friedrich's courage and commitment, so he invited him to be part of his company and to work right beside him. Professor Dr. August Horch was the one who took care of me. I did an apprenticeship with him, and he said to me, "You're my last trainee. I'm going to watch out for you." I just stood there, shaking with awe, next to this great pioneer. There's an opportunity here at Norisring for the VIPs to ride along in an Audi A4 DTM, and it's turning out to be quite a challenge.
I don't think I've completely grasped the situation yet, but it's great. The curves slow the car down. I don't like that, but the straightaways are amazing. I'm a bit dizzy now, but it's great.
Taking off was excellent. For the first moment, you think you can't feel anything at all. Then the fight with your blood pressure begins.
When he accelerated like that, it wasn't good for my stomach. And then it was totally cool.
Despite the proximity of the factory to Norisring, it isn't an easy stretch for Audi. It's the second shortest racetrack in the DTM program at only 1.4 miles. The track at Brands Hatch is the only one that's shorter. The close lap times make it even more important to get ahead in the qualifying round. That's what the competition has managed to be better at the last few years. We're anxious to see if Audi can win this year with the home field advantage. And if Timo Scheider, whose car is being prepped for the race in the background, will be able to defend his leading position in the ranking. The qualifying round is rarely as thrilling as it is this weekend. Continuously changing weather conditions make for an exciting battle for the pole position. It was the first time in years that Audi was able to get the double pole position. Scheider and Ekström start from the first row. I'm very pleased about the two drivers in the first row, and also about Catherine Leck getting into the top 8, an excellent outcome. At the beginning of the race, Timo Scheider holds his position, followed by Matthias Ekström. Catherine Leck had a less than stellar start and lost a few places. But to everyone's surprise, the Brit ended up driving the fastest round. Ekström advances on Scheider and passes him in the first round. The race was restarted again after a safety car phase. And it was surprisingly easy for Timo Scheider to overtake Ekström. Unfortunately, the race commissioner said I had to let Timo pass me up again, because I'd overtaken him in the safety car phase. I didn't think so, but it doesn't really matter. Unfortunate for Ekström in two ways. After the pit stop, he ends up behind Gary Paffett and loses precious time. It looks like Timo Scheider is certain to win the race, but during the last 3 rounds, things change. Spengler overtakes Scheider. But after a mistake by the Canadian, Scheider reclaims first place. Then the crucial moment of the race. Jamie raced past me in the Scholle S-curve like a high-speed train. Naturally, I wanted to survive the last lap. Ultimately, the two Mercedes drivers and Ekström overtake Scheider. For a long time, it looked like the 50th DTM win for Audi, but in the end they came in 3rd and 4th place. But this brings important points in the championship ranking. It was an exciting race up until the very end. Unfortunately, there was some contact for Timo at the end, which resulted in him losing some parts in the rear. That obviously didn't help his performance. It was a great race, but we really didn't need that contact at the end. It was a good race with plenty of battles, but it wasn't the ending we had hoped for. No one really lost big today. Actually, there were 2 winners. It was an exciting race. I think the audience was very enthusiastic. And in the end, Audi still remains the championship leader in the ranking. Timo is first and I'm near the top 2. We can look forward to the next race. The race at Norisring has ended, and it's been one of the most exciting races we've seen in a while. Up until the end, it looked like Audi would win the race with Timo Scheider. But it wasn't quite enough. 3rd place went to Matthias Ekström and 4th to Timo Scheider. This means that Timo Scheider has the overall lead, but only by a few points. So we move on to the next race in Zandvoort in 3 weeks with a very tightly shifting driving climate. I'd be happy to see you again then. Goodbye.